Prince Bojji is born to giant parents but is still the smallest person to ever walk the kingdom of Bos. He is weak, deaf, and naive but still holds the biggest courage to walk with his head held high. His day goes about running around the field and playing with the animals that roam the land of his father. Because of his handicaps, Bojji doesn't play with other children his age and younger because there may be misunderstandings between the two parties, and Bojji is usually a victim to the people's ridicule. While going about his day, he meets a shadow creature called Kage who instantly holds him at knife point in an attempt to steal his clothes. Bojji, after first struggling to understand Kage, reads his lips and starts to carry out the orders given to him by Kage. Kage tells him to take off his clothes and to do it tomorrow at the same spot. When Bojji does so, unhesitant. The next day, Bojji goes to meet Kage at the spot agreed while wearing more clothes so that Kage can rob him of them. Kage expresses that Bojji is a dimwit for nonchalantly doing all that he is told. Bojji then tells him that he appreciates his company and that he only cares for it, and the two become friends, meeting with Bojji fat in clothes that Kage will take and going home naked. One day, Bojji takes Kage home and gets confronted by his stepmother, Queen Healing, who ridicules him even more for always coming back home naked. She asks Bojji to get dressed and go see his father. While dressing, Bojji cries to himself for all the ridicule he has received for the day, but quickly puts on a brave face and Kage sees him. Kage feels sorry for him and starts to emotionally grow closer to and fonder of him. Bojji heads to see his father, King Bos, who ranks at 7th place on the ranking system. The king tells Bojji that he must become strong enough to rule his kingdom and orders Domes to teach him his swordsmanship. Domes accepts and goes to do just that. While in training, Bojji's young half-brother, who is bigger and well-developed, Prince Dida, appears to challenge Domes. They spar as Bojji admires both Domes and Dida. Domes loses to Dida, whose strength he likens to that of King Bos, and Bojji takes his place to defend him with his own sword. The match is announced in the house and everyone interested comes to watch it play out. Dida attacks first, but Bojji dodges countless times until he is able to counterattack by landing his soft blow on Dida's head, impressing everyone watching and in doubt, including Kage, who cheers him on. Every time Bojji dodges and softly counterattacks Dida, Dida gets mad. Domes stops them and signs to Bojji, who stops dodging altogether and gets beat up by Dida while he cries mid-match. It continues to get brutal for Bojji until Apias, a sword of the king who has been watching from the roof, throws a spear that stops the fight, making Dida the winner of the match. Bojji sustains wounds from the match and gets bedridden and covered in bandages. He remembers the words Domes signed to him before he stopped dodging Dida's attacks, that his way of fighting is not the swordsmanship of a king, and he starts to crawl out of bed to a normal-sized sword and tries to pick it up. He fails to pick it up as he is too small and doesn't have the strength to. He cries his eyes out until Kage throws a coin at him. He turns around to face Kage but wipes his tears away and acts bravely so as not to embarrass himself to Kage. Kage tells him he has nothing to be ashamed of and that his swordsmanship is uniquely his own. To cut the embarrassment short, Bojji shows Kage where his clothes are and Kage tells him that no more will he be taking anything from him because he is on his side from then on. Kage stays by Bojji's side while Bojji sleeps, and when he is about to leave, someone comes into the room. She is shown by the feet and her dress at her ankles that she is a woman, and as Kage is about to think she'll do the worst, she puts her hands above the unconscious Bojji and they glow a magical green, slowly healing Bojji's injuries. Kage leaves knowing that Bojji is safe despite his previous suspicions. He meets Bibin, a snake handler and Dida's swordsmanship teacher, whom Kage had met when he first went to the castle where Bojji lives. Bibin wanted to execute Kage for being a shadow creature belonging to a clan of assassins, but Kage had escaped and now, they meet again. The next day, King Bos dies and his will is read in front of his corpse. They announce the successor of the throne to be the first prince of the kingdom, Prince Bojji, and this shocks everyone. And after Queen Healing defies the wishes of her late king and rips apart the will, Prince Dida is presented as the new king to the kingdom's people. Bojji is hurt by this and runs away to cry his heart out. After confronting Kage again, Bibin goes to tell Bojji that Kage has left for a journey and they will never see each other again. Bojji goes to seek out Kage on his own. He goes to the snake lair where a giant snake he saved when he was younger called Mitsamana lives. Mitsamana tells Bojji that his master, Bibin, has apprehended Kage but let him go on an important journey that he can't tell Bojji. But he also assures him that it is not for the sake of harming him. Bojji remembers how he was chosen to become king but was opposed as he was weak and frail, and how Kage had promised to be by his side but is now on a journey to help him. Bojji sets to follow Kage. He goes to speak with the queen and she refuses him the journey for the same reasons as always. He then decides to run away by climbing out a window from high up in the castle. The queen comes in just time before he lets go of the makeshift rope he put together. Dorsh, the queen's shield, pulls him up but Bojji struggles to cause the pieces of the ropes to untie and make him fall to the ground. Queen Healing hurries to Bojji and finds him unconscious and starts to groan loudly and glow in a green light, tearing her dress and putting her hands on Bojji to heal his wounds. Bojji remembers her from the night of the match when she went in and healed him while he slept. While she is left alone to rest, Healing remembers her first meeting with Bojji and the struggles she had to go through to build the kind of relationship she has with Bojji. This makes her a little softer, granting Bojji permission to go on the journey to learn and gain experience and become stronger. She arms him with his teacher, Domes, and an aide for his personal care, Hokuro. Bojji sets off on his journey. The trio first makes it to a village where Bojji runs from Hokuro to go have fun seeing puppets, buying this and that at the market and sleeping by the fountains. He is later found by Domes and Hokuro without his bag that had all the important things, and Hokuro gets the heat for losing Bojji in the first place. The trio then gets dinner to calm down and think about a way forward. They commence the journey the next day and find Bojji's bag lying on the street. With everything intact, they decide to continue on their journey and walk all the plain valleys and dangerous forests. Bojji gets distracted by a butterfly while they're walking and follows it. He falls into a pit guarded by spears and meets the spearman who owns it. The man kills a wild pig and feasts with Bojji, and they dance together when a creation of new animals happens from the dead one that they're eating. After that, the man explains the process to Bojji and decides he wants to sacrifice him for the creation of more new lives from his. Bojji manages to escape the man and gets together with his company. They set up camp to rest for the night when, while eating, Bojji's meat is stabbed by knives thrown from a distance that the three of them can't detect. In the morning, they see a pack of dogs lying dead on the ground from eating Bojji's stabbed meat. It was poisoned. After burying the dogs, they go to another town that has a hole of fire in the ground called the Gates of Hell, a pit into the underworld. Domes tells Hokuro to find a place for them to rest for the night, and he takes Bojji to see the Gates of Hell. When they get there, Domes pushes Bojji into the fire pit and leaves him there for dead. But Bojji lands safely on the floor of the pit. While marveling at how so, Kage appears from his bag and the two reunite in tears of friendship. Kage tells Bojji that he's been with him from the moment he fell off the window trying to escape, to when he wanted to bite into the poisoned meat. He tells him that he was sent to accompany Bojji to meet the man that will make him strong, by Bibin the snake handler. And the journey they are about to take leads them deeper into the underworld to meet this man. They head down toward their destination, but Bojji starts to smell gas which passes them out. Two men emerge from the smoke and take Bojji and Kage on the back of their rides. They are taken to another kingdom, a kingdom of the underworld. When they come to, they meet the ruler of the kingdom, King Desha, ranked second in the system. He starts to make fun of Bojji for his shortcomings and the fact that his younger brother is king and not him. He asks about their intentions and Kage explains that they are there to see a man that can turn an ordinary man into a man of strength fit for a king. King Desha admits that it's him they're looking for and that he needs to test the skill level of the person he is to train. One of his knights who transported Bojji and Kage to the kingdom stands forward to test Bojji. Bojji is told to land a strike on the knight, who happens to be a captain of the Order of the Underworld, who are famous for their strength and relentlessness. Bojji gives it his all, throwing his soft strikes at the guard, who, after realizing the situation, stands with his guard down. Desha ridicules Bojji one more time for his weakness before Kage defends him again. He tells Desha that Bojji's strength lies within his ability to dodge attacks precisely. Desha then tells Bojji to not let the guard him, and he doesn't. He dodges the attacks with precision and speed, which impresses the knights in the room. And when the knight fighting Bojji stops and admires his speed, they all look to Desha for approval. Desha mez, as he is still not impressed. He says Bojji can survive a battle but can't win it, as he won't be able to get through his enemy's armor. Even after Kage's persuasion for Desha to teach Bojji, he refuses, saying that he can't refine talent that's non-existent. The duo is ordered to be kicked out by King Desha. Kage encourages Bojji not to give up and that he will become strong if he works hard. Bojji gets motivated to pick up a large rock with fail and then a smaller rock with fail, still. He cries when he realizes that indeed he is absolutely feeble. Kage goes to comfort him. The knight whom Bojji had sparred with tells them to take the letter of recommendation they had brought with them to the rightful person. When they ask who, they're told that it is the king's younger brother, Prince Despa. King Desha was just fooling them to amuse himself and didn't let them know any sooner, because he is in rivalry with Despa. The pair thank the knights and head to seek for Prince Despa and meet him. They introduce themselves and state the purpose of their visit. Despa asks for compensation for his services, and after Kage pays, he invites them inside. He then reads Bojji's hands and finds that Bojji is weak and doesn't have even a stray vein of strength in his body. But still, he takes him under his wing to train him to his full potential. Bojji and Kage head to bed after familiarizing themselves with the household, and Bojji wakes up early in the morning the next day. He does housework and a breakfast that only he can eat since he's a baby giant. Despa then gets ready to train him. Day in and day out, Bojji trains with determination until one day, when Kage was cleaning outside, he hears a loud bang that rumbles even the ground. He rushes to the room Bojji is training in, where he's prohibited to enter. He asks about the loud noise he heard and asks if Despa and Bojji are okay. When Despa opens the door to answer Kage's questions, Kage sees a glimpse of Bojji posed in front of a rock that has been split in half. The door slowly closes on his face, leaving him wondering about Bojji's progress. Bojji finally completes his training, having fully mastered the way of Despa's training, the Despa arts. Bojji, Kage and Despa make their way to celebrate Bojji's training completion. But as they head out the door, Kage notices that Bojji has a sword by his side and asks about it. Bojji swings it and impresses Kage, but when he takes it out of the sheath, Kage gets utterly disappointed by its slim and needle-like look. Despa confronts Kage about his skepticism when he tells him that giving Bojji a needle and calling it a sword is not going to help anyone. Kage apologizes to Bojji and they head to their celebration. While they eat, three monsters whom are citizens of the underworld approach the trio and start to pick a fight. They mock Despa for his looks, and he sends one flying with a punch which he instantly regrets. The monsters get back up and start to beat him up, but Bojji doesn't sit it out, seeing that Despa is ganged up on. He tries to defend but is easily pushed to the side. He gets back up, and after dodging a few attacks, he lands a blow as soft as a daisy on the monster's chin. The monster, after a second, starts losing his balance and passes out, ruling Bojji's punch a knockout. Bojji continues to defend and finally draws his weapon, the needle sword, and dodges a few attacks from the monster. In a flash of lightning, he defeats his opponent, who falls to the ground screaming in pain. Kage panics that Bojji killed the monster, but Despa checks his vitals and finds that he just passed out as before. Despa then explains to Kage the science behind Bojji's weak attacks that still yield great results. The placement and timing of the punch on that certain spot, and the stabbing of the needle without causing extensive damage to the brain or blood vessels. Kage celebrates Bojji's victory, and the three head home afterward. On the way home, Despa tells Bojji and Kage to head on first as he needs to attend to something. He quickly runs around the corner to go meet the monsters whom Bojji had just defeated and pays them for their participation in the fight. Later at night, when Bojji and Kage are sitting outside, Kage decides to finally tell Bojji what has been going on in his castle, having been told by Bibin. After hearing all of this, Kage asks Bojji what he will do. Bojji, remembering how Domes had betrayed him, gets scared that Queen Healing may do him in. He starts to take a walk and Kage follows him to ask him about his lack of courage. Bojji then starts to punch himself and hitting his head on the ground in order to gain his courage back and set for home. Bojji and Kage bid their byes to Despa so as to return home. Despa encourages Bojji to love himself as he is and continue to be as courageous as he is. Knights of the Order of the Underworld arrive as the three men are still saying their goodbyes, and offer to transport Bojji back to his kingdom. Despa explains to them that it is because criminals of the underworld have infiltrated the kingdom and King Desha has deployed the knights to take Bojji home and capture the criminals. The knights explain who the criminals are and Kage continues to encourage Bojji with his newfound strength through the Despa arts. The knights continue to explain to Kage and Bojji how the criminals may have gotten into the kingdom. Kage and Bojji finally arrive at the kingdom to find a criminal that has left the castle to attack the civilians. The criminal is said to be one of the most dangerous, as even Despa said for the knight not to fight him until he arrives. The criminal, known as Ukin, the Sword of the Underworld, has cut up the people and is now to face the captain of the Underworld Order, who is going against Despa. When Bojji wants to partake in the fight, the knight stops him, as Despa had said that Bojji would be defeated by Ukin if he were to fight him. The knight tells Bojji to head for the castle to help protect Queen Healing. Bojji and Kage make their way to the castle in haste.